go, sir. All right, Harry, how about you? I pulled in a lane a while ago. I leaned over to get something out of the car. A piece of towel. My back. Kicked me in the, just muscle spasm. As much as I work out and go to the gym, I'm bending over to pick a towel up. And
of course.
Now I'm walking out.
That's what I told my wife the other day. Is like she did something. I don't know what she did. She was like taking her something out and just kind of like turned it. It's okay. I figured this out with some football. It's only going to be 10 minutes. I don't need to stretch. It's like, no, you need to stretch. It's gonna, later. We got 10 minutes. It's going to take 5 minutes to stretch. He's going to throw for 5 minutes. I had to ice my shoulder for like a week.
If you call my name, it may take me a while to get up.
Hey, I have a question. Weird that driving back in from Ace last weekend. The topic came up. I think it's this relates to James Boulevard. Once we Dollar General. It's noticed that there is actually a sign on the highway side. When James pulls off, it says no through trucks on the tap side. I would think you want the through trucks on Taft, not on James. Right. You're basically telling them to turn off on James because they can't go down the W.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It needs to be like way at the bottom in Dunlap or whatever.
Yeah.
Or on the James Boulevard side now.
Is that sign actually in the county?
Hey there.
Because that's our line right there. I'll look at it.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
I never noticed it.
I'm sure exhausted.
Okay, I'll look at it.
Oh, it is?
That's good.
Seriously?
Yes, it is. Okay.
Do you not have to go after the election? You don't have to.
They'll get sworn in like next week or the week after they are elected.
I was just talking to Harry about that. I think you'll sit through the end of November. I'm going to call Mike Walden. I'm going to call Mike Walden and see if they have a meeting set for certification yet. The election commission.
Well, we were.
These guys didn't get sworn in until the beginning of
Yeah, it was a while, but that was also something to do with the presidential election or something.
Well, it definitely impacts. But
They're like, we're not going to bother certifying Signal Mountain yet because everybody's fighting over.
well, that's what I'm saying is I don't think we should count on that because if that certification doesn't happen, which is the reason why I thought about calling Mike or the election commissioners and finding out what their tentative schedule is, because that meeting has to happen before we're sworn in. So I agree with that. That's I agree with that. That's not my point. Just we have to make sure we can honor our engagement. No, but that's just we don't want to send messages that we're not listening. Right? We don't want to send.
You guys ready?
We're just gonna start. Yeah.
Are y'all ready?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and get started with the town council meeting for October 24th, 2000.
I'm ready.
We're ready to go.
I'm not ready for.
You want to lead us? Why don't you lead us?
Okay,
Pledge of
come on.
Allegiance.
I'm a teacher. I can lead us in the pledge.
Let's have it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Let's have a moment of silence here, and then we'll get moving on. Okay. The roll call, please.
Councilmember Elizabeth Baker.
Here.
Councilmember Vicki Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Andrew Gardner.
Here.
Vice Mayor Susanna Murdoch. Here. Mayor Charles Haas.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. So this is a special called meeting. I should have mentioned that before, so that we can vote on some things. We do not have any minutes to approve, but we will have the citizens' opportunity to address council if there's anybody that would like to address the council today. Okay. So we do have an application for a temporary beer permit. And the way we do that is we'll act as the beer board for the town of Signal Mountain. We have an application from Robert Emery Davis and Erin Elizabeth Lyons. I don't know if they're here or not. But has everybody had a chance to review this? I do want to ask Mr. Graham one question about it, if you don't mind. I don't know if the applicants are here. Okay. They listed the identity and address of the person who's going to receive the annual privilege tax notices, and it was at the MAX address rather than at the person's home. I didn't know if that was going to be a problem, that you basically are going to receive their mail, and I assume they rent space, so that's okay. But
right, they're renting space, so they're using that as address for their business too.
Okay. All right.
We have several folks that do that there at the MAC.
All right. I just want to make sure that that's not a problem.
Okay.
All right. So we have an application. This is for a temporary beer license or alcohol, I guess beer license. Does anybody want to make a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
All right.
Second.
All right. Does anybody have any questions or comments, concerns? Okay. Well, we have an application and a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Okay. All right, that passes. So back to acting as the Signal Mountain Town Council. We have several resolutions to take care of. The first is a resolution recognizing and celebrating October 28th, 2022 as Arbor Day within the town of Signal Mountain, Tennessee. We have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
And a second?
Second.
All right. So this is Arbor Day is October 28th, 2022, this coming Friday. Just so everybody knows, the tree board is going to be planting trees at Nolan, Thrasher, and Signal Mountain Christian on Friday. So they'll be out there celebrating Arbor Day if anybody wants to show up and participate. I'm sure they'd like that. But anyway, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. All right. So we also have a proclamation for that. I don't know if I have to read it. Do I need to read the proclamation, or is that just something we can sign? Do you know, Harry?
I don't.
Okay. Well, I'm going to read it just in case we're supposed to read it. So this is a proclamation for Arbor Day that I'll read into the record as it is. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees, and whereas that day designated Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska and is now observed both nationally and internationally, and whereas trees reduce erosion of previous topsoil, lower heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource that provides paper, wood for homes, fuel for fires, and countless other products. And whereas trees increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, beautify communities, and are a source of joy and spiritual renewal, and now, therefore, I, Charles Poss, Mayor of the Town of Signal Mountain, do hereby proclaim October 28, 2022 as the official day for the observance and celebration of Arbor Day within the Town of Signal Mountain. So that's their proclamation. We'll sign that and give that to the tree board. Okay, so we voted on the resolution, right? Okay. And now a resolution recognizing and honoring town employees who are veterans of the United States Armed Forces. I'm going to go ahead and read this one also, especially because we have a number of folks who are veterans, and we thank them for their service. Whereas for more than 200 years, individuals from all walks of life have taken up arms and sworn an oath to support and defend the principles upon which our country was founded. And whereas throughout our history, courageous men and women have donned the uniform of our armed forces and built a noble tradition of faithful and dedicated service to our nation. And whereas Veterans Day has been set aside as both a national and state holiday to honor the millions of American patriots who answered the call of duty, preserving our freedoms and often making the ultimate sacrifice. And whereas we can never fully repay our debt of gratitude to those heroic men and women who served, were wounded, or even died in battle, and whereas the unwavering commitment of our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guardsmen has preserved our freedoms and saved millions around the world from tyranny, and whereas in recognition of their service to our country, the Town of Signal Mountain wishes to especially honor and thank U.S. Armed Forces veterans Elaine Brunel and Rick Jackson of the Administrative Department, Mike Williams of the Police Department, Lewis Thatcher, Adam Johnson, Stacy Seals, and James Anderson of the Fire Department, Thomas Post of the Public Works Department. Thank you, guys. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Town of Signal Mountain, Tennessee, recognizes and especially honors those town employees who are veterans of the United States Armed Forces and urges all citizens to do the same. Thank you, guys. So, do we have a motion? To approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Great. Again, thank you, guys. We'll go ahead and vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. All right. Thank you for your service. All right. Our next resolution is a resolution authorizing the town manager to approve a contract with Truist Bank to continue as a depository bank of Town of Signal Mountain municipal funds. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
And do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Looks like we got 3 bids.
We did a comprehensive review of all 3 bids, and we compared the average interest, average monthly analysis fees, positive pay, remote deposit, courier service, lockbox service, minimum balance threshold, proximity of the branches, and the strategic conversion plan. And the comparison of all 3, Truist was the one that came to the top.
All right.
And offered us the best service.
All right. Sounds good. Any questions or comments? All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No? All right. That passes. Next is a resolution authorizing the town manager to award a contract for annual service and new equipment with Champion Data Systems for a one-time amount of $9,600 and annual cost of $3,000. This is for outfitting our town hall with video services and helping with our agenda as well.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right. Has everybody had a chance to look over the quote?
I'm very excited about this.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Do we have a time frame for when they might get started? Have they mentioned how busy or backed up they are?
No, they did not, but now that we have the approval, and I will make the notification with him tomorrow, that it has approved, and we'll see what we can get the start date. But he did mention it was going to be about 30 days to go live.
Okay.
So probably look around 5 or 6 weeks.
All right.
We'll be up and running.
Sounds good. Thank you. Okay, we now have some board applicants. How many openings on the Planning Commission do we have?
The
Still
Planning
one?
Commission Board, we just have one
Okay.
opening.
All right. We have, for our new recycling subcommittee, we have 7 positions and 7 applicants. We do have a ballot form we can do, or since we have 7 applicants for 7 positions, if anyone would like to motion to add them all to the board, that'd be fine as well.
I make a motion to add them all to the board.
All right.
I'll second.
All right. Is that, does anybody have any questions, comments about that process? Okay.
And this is just for the recycling board, this is not the planning commission, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
I don't know if I should probably not vote since, I mean, not that it matters, there's 7 positions, but, and 7 applicants, but my wife is one of them, so I will abstain from voting because she has applied. So we have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 1 abstention, and no one opposed. So they all are added. So now the Planning Commission, we have 4 applicants and 1 open position. If anyone, we can do this ballot, or someone can make a motion.
I'll be happy just to make a motion for Laura McCormick.
I'll second.
Okay. All right, we do have a motion to add Laura McCormick to the Planning Commission and a second. Anyone have any comments or questions? Is everybody okay with that process? All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No? Okay. So Ms. McCormick is added to the Planning Commission. We might have another opening at some point, so we can consider these other applicants and anyone else who wants to apply if we do. Well, I went too far. We have
Rec board?
yes. Let me get to that.
I can go ahead and make a motion if,
Go ahead.
motion to approve, I'm blanking on the first name, Cole.
Chelsea.
To Chelsea, to the Recreation Board.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second for Chelsea Cole. All right, so do we have her application here? Okay. All right, yeah, I know, I read it, but I thought her last name was spelled C-O-Y-L-E, but I don't know why I thought that. I may be wrong. Okay, but anyway, we have I may have just misread it when I was looking at it. But anyway, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Then we have one more for Stormwater Board. We have a resolution appointing Joshua Rogers to the Town of Signal Mountain Stormwater Appeals Board.
I move to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments? No. Josh? All right. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? No? Okay. So that takes care of all of our resolutions.
Can I make a motion to suspend the rest of the agenda?
Yes. Thank you.
Second.
All right. Anybody have any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So we now are moving on to the work session. So we've already done the call. Let's do another call to order for the work session. A roll call for the work session.
Councilmember Elizabeth Baker.
Here.
Councilmember Vicki Anderson. Here. Councilmember Andrew Gardner.
Here.
Vice Mayor Suzanne Murdock. Here. Mayor Charles Foss.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Okay, again, we don't have any minutes to approve. We do have citizens' opportunity to address council, so if anyone would like to get up now and speak? No? All right. No resolutions or ordinances. We'll move on to the first discussion item, which is stormwater fees for tax credit recipients. This came up because, I don't know, you've gotten several calls, I think. I got a call from someone who gets a tax credit or a break on paying property taxes in Signal Mountain. They received their stormwater fee and asked why they were not getting a similar credit for the stormwater fees. So Elaine, I spoke to Elaine about it. She has gotten other calls from people, and so she was looking into the issue to see if there's anything we could consider doing or if not. So I'll let you take it from here.
Well, so according to our code, the stormwater utility ordinance, there's no language within the context of it saying that we can waive the fees. There is, and so I talked with Harry about this, you know, if there's a Tennessee code that says that we can have, you know, we can waive these fees, but the fee has been mandated by Congress, and it's not a tax. And the tax relief is just that, it's a tax credit for those folks who fall within that category, and they do meet the requirements for that tax relief program. So have not been able to find the language if we can waive those fees. We can move them up or down based on stormwater consumption or production. That is clear language in our code that we can adjust upward or downward the stormwater user's fee with respect to any property based on any significant variation in the volume or rate of stormwater, or any significant variation in the quality of stormwater emanating from the property compared to other similar properties. That's the only language that I could find saying that we could adjust the fees either up or down, but there's nothing that says waiving them.
Okay. Is that an adjustment for all, or for some individual says, I want you to adjust mine?
It's just based on their stormwater production.
Okay.
Compared to similar properties. So they can approach and appeal of the fee to go upward or downward, but that's open for any resident who may feel that they were being charged too much for fees.
And so someone would have to apply for that, I guess, to the stormwater board?
But they could only have it adjusted if, like, properties were lower than theirs. They can't get this waived, correct?
Yes, and there's nothing in here about waiving. It's about upward or downward based on similar properties.
So is there a process that they would go through to have it adjusted?
If they disagree with the calculation of their stormwater fee, they may appeal the fee determination to the Stormwater Appeals Board within 30 days from the date of the last bill containing the stormwater user's fee and charges.
Okay.
And so the appeal should be filed in writing and shall state the grounds for the appeal. And then it goes before the Appeals Board, and the Stormwater Appeals Board Chairman may request additional information from the appealing party.
So the appeal to be adjusted upward or downward, or specifically downward, because they haven't. So So I guess what part of the problem is they typically have not been charged this amount until this year.
It had been waived.
Without any apparent authority.
But,
And contrary
yes.
to the law.
Contrary to the law. Okay, and so is there a provision in that appeals to do this because of tax waiving, or is it just, I mean, if you're going to appeal something, you have to have grounds to appeal something. Having a tax credit for property tax does not seem like grounds for
I
an
don't
appeal.
think that's a basis for having the stormwater fee waived.
Yeah, I think it's,
Or
It
appeal.
sounds like it's like you got to go back to the formula of actual stormwater generation, which is already the process in place. It's
Yeah.
like, I don't see how you would even be able to argue that a comparable house, because that's the process.
I think it's kind of like when you get your property tax bill, you can go and appeal and argue that your property's got a lower value so that you pay less taxes. So that's kind of the same process.
Yeah.
You might go and say,
What
"Hey,
I would
didn't use
envision
that
is like,
much."
I wrecked down the giant shed,
Yeah.
and
so I
now
didn't
it's
use as
just
much.
gravel, and so, yeah, I need it adjusted. It's kind of what I'm thinking
And it
that's
might
there
be a
for.
bit of a roll of the dice because they might do the comparison and say, well, you're not paying enough. So
That's true.
I don't know if that's how it can go. I don't know if you get a choice if you got to pay more to say, no, I'm good. But yeah, so it sounds like the process that has been done in the past to waive the fee isn't permissible, and we can't continue to do that. But there is a process to appeal to pay less in fee if it's warranted based on comparison to other uses.
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, I appreciate you looking into that, talking with Harry, and really getting an answer, solving a problem. So thank you for doing that. Does anybody have any other questions about it? Okay. The next item here is a timeline for online technology upgrades.
Yes, I just kind of wanted to talk through, because we've been talking about a lot of technology upgrades over the past couple of months. We've gotten several bids from different organizations, and we just asked Champ, thank you, we can move forward with that. But we have all these technology parts that are kind of spinning around. And I just wanted to talk about a timeline for implementation. So for the website, since we'll get some new functionality with Champ that has some document storage on it, but it's not the historical document storage that we were looking for. So within the context of the revised quote for website development, it does have in there the document storage quote. Some of the other things that we were looking at for online interactive forms, add facility reservation systems, those are all add-on features that we can add on at a later time. But the basic of what we wanted in a website, I think we should consider continuing to move forward with the website because Champ is portable, and then some of the other technology pieces that we were looking at, trying to find a new financial management suite was kind of the big one. So had a demo with a great company, and they have everything that we are looking for in software. But that is, I think, a longer term transition and consideration because it is a big number. So putting that out by way of RFP so we can try to get some competitive pricing for the financial management suite. But this company here not only does financial management, they do everything else. They do online reservations, they do water utility, they do public works, utility, and that is all linked to with GIS mapping, and there's the citizen interface. Their citizens can sign up for their own accounts, and they can book reservations. They can assign family members to their accounts. So this company here, it's the full Monty. They had everything that we were looking for.
That was some of the add-ons for the website, is included in whatever package that they have.
Yes.
Okay.
So they would take the full place of all the software that we have currently, and then they would even give us additional functionality, but from local government. We would be able to divest ourselves out of local government into a new company. It's more user-friendly, it's cloud-based, they push updates to it, they keep it active and secure. And so, just talk security for a moment. We're currently had our external threat scan done, and we're now working on the internal scan done for our security. And those results, hope to have all of them put together by next week. We'll see how long it takes for the internal security vulnerability scans to be done, but we are finding some things. So with online security and cloud-based security, it's really that's really attractive because it does have more security and less vulnerability for our financial management suite.
Okay.
So with the one proposal you guys have, that was something that you guys went out and got, right?
Yes, we just, hey, what do you have? What do you offer? What would that even look like as far as financials?
Okay. So, and are you looking at doing an RFP to see the other companies have? Because I think like we're at the amount where we need to get RFPs out.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that's your next step on the software piece.
That's the next step on the software piece, is to get some RFPs, get an RFP out there and see if we can get some additional maybe companies chiming in. So that transition, I would like to set the goal of, next fiscal year, be able to press go with a new financial management company suite. Since we've already paid through the end of this fiscal year with local government for the software, it gives us some time to get the RFPs out on the street, get maybe some competitive bids in, and then set a timeline for transition and implementation for the start of the fiscal year.
Okay. Can I go back to the website?
Yes.
And are you done talking? Were you done?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You talked about Revise. There was the other company.
Yes, Prog City.
Yeah. So at what point are we going to be ready to make a decision on that?
Mm-hmm. So I think that was also part of this discussion I wanted to have is, okay, what are we looking for timeline with that? Now that we have Chant, I think we should still continue to move forward with a website.
Oh yeah.
Chant
wouldn't work with our existing website.
Yes.
So.
I have a thought on that, which is the next meeting we have a resolution to approve the revised quote. It sounds like best thing moving forward is to include the storage feature, but then kind of wait on the others.
Well, and I agree with you. And initially, one of the reasons why I was very supportive of Revise was because of those extra features not being as much as on Proud City. Mm-hmm. But now that we're putting those extra features on hold, like now I'm starting to try to remember what those proposals look like and wanting to make sure that Revise is the right way of going. Because, they were both pretty similar. Not completely.
I'll be honest, I don't feel like the product was similar. And I would pay more and be okay with that with Revise.
And I understand what you're saying, but if we're not looking for the same functionality out of a website because we're looking at a software that has front-facing dashboards, then going with those different features and might be like paying for or paying for something twice, which is kind of why instead of I have always went with Revise until tonight, but I want to look at Proud City again before pigeonholing us into the one company because we're looking at a different service now.
I never fully, I could never fully figure out what we were getting from those two companies, really. I mean, there were so many add-ons that I never really understood how I could compare the two companies and their quotes. But I don't know much about this tech stuff.
I was going to say, it
that's
takes
my
having
problem.
a teenager living in your house.
That would help.
That's what it takes.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, mine wouldn't qualify.
But yeah, so I see both of your points. I definitely think it's time to move forward,
Absolutely.
but at the same time, I think it'd be good to have one last look and comparison.
Maybe in the
Especially-
context of what Champ is going to provide.
Well, in the financial suite as well,
And
because
the financial suite, like maybe sort of look at it with a new,
Would it be unreasonable to have a resolution for both companies at the next meeting for us to discuss and then move forward with one? So that we're not waiting another month
yes,
to
I
approve.
think that,
But I also don't want to hold it up.
And if we
by
can
me
get
going-
like a clear quote of that kind of the basic plus storage, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to hold this up another whole month while I go check out and look at the Proud City again and consider that stuff. Like, I don't want that to hold it up another 30 days. Are you guys comfortable with having
Yes.
both ready to go and then us going forward with one?
I am. I would like to, if you could kind of look at the financial suite and what they might offer, that we wouldn't have to add on from these two other providers to just make sure we can kind of boil it down to what we would be paying for the website. That would be helpful. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Well, it's exciting, really, to get us current in our technology, maybe a little ahead too. So thanks for all your work on that. Okay, the next item is a native plant ordinance.
So,
Sorry, I just wanted to expand on what these are, as we're talking about native plant ordinance. And just looking at which ones are less flammable and which ones are highly flammable. And as we're, seeing right now with the drought, things are sparking. So I thought it was important to have this available for, as we're talking native plants, because some of the more flammable plants are considered native, like the eastern red cedar. Like I planted some of those in my front yard.
Keep watering them.
so my thought on this today is that we should probably decide which ordinances we want to include native plant language in, and then probably send it back to the Parks Board who initially brought it forward. And if the Parks Board wants to work with the Tree Board and if they want to figure out what a recommended ordinance change would look at in, say, 3 months or however long they need, we should go that way. But as far as where the native plant language should go in ordinances, to me, it would make sense in the town landscaping, landscape ordinance that talks about planting on town property, as well as in the subdivision regulations. There is already a listing of approved plants for screening in common places, and maybe those need to be re-examined to be replaced with native plants. As far as us sitting up here and deciding which plants should be which, I know for myself I'm uncomfortable with that type of discussion because it's been amazing to learn more about it, but I'm not nearly knowledgeable enough, and it sounds like we have a lot of passion from the Parks Board, and I know there's been some conversation between Parks Board and Tree Board, and there's lots of passion there. And to put this in the hands of the people who just have the knowledge, I think would be smarter. But I think we need to give direction.
I was at the last Tree Board meeting, and I might call on Ann to give me some help here, but they had some discussion about this, and they can tell what constitutes a native plant, but then Ann kept saying, what about cultivars? Is that right? The right word? Nativars, where you have a combination of plants.
Yes.
And who's going to decide? I think that was another question, like who's going to decide what's acceptable? And there is a list that's published by Tennessee, but it doesn't include nativars. So, some sort of combination we don't know about. But
And I think if we put the research in the hands of those who are most passionate about this and most knowledgeable about this, and then when they come back to us and they can share that knowledge, I think we'll be in a better position than us trying to become native plant experts.
Yeah, let's do it.
well, one way to start is to look and find if other communities like ours that have, or even not necessarily like ours, but that have a native plant ordinance or something in place.
And I've done that. Right now in Hamilton County, Red Bank is the only one that has some research in the start of an ordinance in Hamilton County. Mm-hmm. And theirs is only in their subdivision regulations. That's the one that they're talking about. And I can pass their research and the start of their ordinance on to Andrew to take to the tree board. There aren't a lot of towns our size in this part of the United States that has a native plant ordinance. Because some of the ones in quite large cities have that, but their ordinances are much more robust than ours. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to see how something that big would fit into something as compact as what we have.
Half of our code.
But
okay, well, I know the tree board, I'm sure is pleased to speak with the Parks Board and work together with them to try to figure out something that would work. And maybe we can continue to do, we can look at what Red Bank has and see if there's anything else we can find with some sample ordinances that might help.
That.
I guess at the beginning you had mentioned what parts of the code, so I assume you're kind of getting at town property versus subdivision regulations. I guess what are people's thoughts on that?
I kind of think like we just go for it and do both sections. I think that as these, and I'll say two committees because I can see these two committees meeting together in an open public meeting, discussing and working on this. And I really hope that that is what happens. But as they start looking at this and understanding more about native plants and how they're used, I think it would be natural for them to be able to kind of look at what our subdivision regs say and say, well, these ones aren't the native ones. These are the, maybe there's some invasives on there or whatever, and these are what typically would replace those natives, or replace those, those non-native plants. See, I don't even know the right word. But the non-native plants. While they're looking at what should go on town property.
I think that's a good idea.
I think they kind of work hand in hand.
Mm-hmm. And I think I would feel a lot more comfortable with the tree board helping to make the decision, because I think that, like Ms. Baker said, they have so much more knowledge, but also they'll be able to say this is enforceable and this is not enforceable, and I think, because I think we need to look at that, putting an ordinance on that isn't enforceable is that's challenging to me. I think it needs to be enforceable by some way, unless it's just rubber stamp, and I don't think that's the intention of this. It wouldn't be for me. The intention of this would be to make some changes to our town.
Okay, so we have some directive to get the ball rolling, have the tree board and the parks board meet and work on something. Any other comments on that topic? All right, so next is internal control policy. I'm not sure what this.
So the internal control policy has not been updated since 2016, and some organizational structure has changed, and some of the procedures. So I wanted to just briefly talk about it, that we will be bringing it to council for approval for adopting the new internal control manual to reflect some of the new policies and some of the new structure. But the old manual still has some old organizational structure in it, so we just want to bring it up and make it current and relevant, so it's actually a useful document.
Okay.
So when that comes, are you planning on having that up for vote at the next regular meeting?
No.
Okay.
Not at the next
Okay.
regular. But I just did want to get that the conversation that you'll expect to see that soon as we're working through updating that.
Will it be a work session first to talk about it and then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'd like to get it on a work session so we can talk about it and have some time to review it, discuss it, and then if we need to make any changes, but we'll have that available for you.
Sounds good. Okay, manager review process.
Yes, that's me. And so as I've been working with Hannah on this and like putting together some information so that you all can like pick a certain route to go as far as we do 360 reviews and that sort of thing. One thing that has become evident that we need to do, we started a strategic plan process at the beginning of the budget, or no, right before the budget year. Started back in February. And given the transition that happened between then and now, that strategic plan hasn't been built out. And so we don't have like objectives and goals and that sort of thing. And when you go to review the manager, you need to review them on a set of standards like objectives from a strategic plan. So that was kind of the one thing that I wanted to talk about, which is somewhat separate from the review process, is I think we need to set a month, whether it's January or February coming up, that we have another strategic planning session, and it won't be as big as the last one because we have our mission and our vision, but things have changed in the past year, and so there's things that might need to be updated, and then once we get those updated, then Hannah would work with Elaine if Elaine wanted that. And then Elaine and staff can come out and build out those goals and objectives and how they're going to achieve each of those points of the strategic plan. So that was first under this is, I know that there's 4 of us up here that will be up here in February, but are we good with doing like end of January for another strategic planning session?
Yeah, that
Okay.
sounds good.
Okay, and then looking forward to like what type of review we do. There's a 360-degree review, which allows more feedback. So the 360 review process would take feedback from like department heads and allow that feedback to come to us before we complete our review, so we can see how those people that are directly reporting to the manager feel about that performance. And so that was going to be my first question is, do we want to do a 360 review where you have like the department heads work that report to a town manager as a part of this review process? And if you want more information on how that would work or questions, I can answer those.
So is that, are we meeting with the department heads? Or are
They would get a
giving us
questionnaire.
report? Yeah, okay, so they're giving us information.
And the questionnaire would have both open-ended and closed-ended, like rate between 1 and 5.
Mm-hmm.
1 being great or, very proficient, 2 not proficient would be like a 5. And so they would rate them on, it's typically like maybe 10, 15 questions. And about 2/3 of them would be that rating. And a third of them would be an open-ended, like give an example of type of questions.
I think it's great to hear what the people you're supervising say about you. And
Okay.
And then would we be able to mirror that, like, so that, like, the library staff can do the same thing for Karen? Would it,
Well-
would it like domino up and down?
That wouldn't be our choice because we don't have any operational
Yeah,
say
that'd be
about that.
Elaine.
That would be a choice that Elaine would make.
Okay,
The only person we review is Elaine,
that's true.
so
So does MTS do that?
your review?
The 360 review, do they do that, or is that done through a separate company?
No, it's a process that we're working with MTS to create for the town.
Okay.
So, yeah. I don't know if that answers your question.
Do
It
they do it
sounds
in
like-
other municipalities that way?
Yes.
It's something that we would start the process, once we get the MTS's help to put together the process, then we would implement the process.
Yes.
Okay. Because, kind of goes into some of my manager's report, but talking about 360 reviews and organizational culture surveys, trying to find an organization that will do that for us. MTS is helping another municipality to develop some kind of survey, but just kind of seeing what's out there, because since we do not have a performance review process, that's part of, was part of my goal is to have that implemented, but part of that is having those 360 reviews or organizational culture surveys to see, to gather the data, the benchmark of what's the culture right now, what are some of the things that are a concern, and then having those 360 reviews done on leadership to kind of put it all together. So I've used 360 reviews and culture and climate surveys my entire career, and so I think they're extremely useful tools in order to better an organization and to better leadership, because one thing that might be important to me may not be important to others. I may be missing the mark, so if I have these kind of these tools available, and even for me, I don't know how to improve if I'm not tracking, I'm not getting that feedback, because feedback is one of the most important pieces of leadership.
Yeah. And that's,
Yeah.
I think it's great that you're doing that for staff and everything like that. I mean, I'm glad to hear that.
Yes.
So the next part on the manager review process that I would want to gain consensus on while we put this together is a self-evaluation portion. A self-evaluation portion would be like allowing the town manager to put together like a memorandum of points of achievement towards the strategic plan for us to read before we do our evaluation. And I don't know if you guys want to make that a part of the process or not. It's typically nothing like, we're not going to ask the town manager to write a book. It's a 2 or 3 pages. It's a 2 or 3 page process.
I think that's helpful.
Yeah.
Self-evaluations, as I've seen them
As
in
soon as
other
I saw the
are like, I
guidelines.
was like, yeah, no, that's kind of a little bit of a waste of time in this case if she's filling in the same bubbles. But if the town manager is kind of like laying out some points underneath the guidance, I think that's helpful, because we don't always know. Yeah, we don't always remember or know all of those things that were accomplished during the year towards a certain goal.
And then the other thing I think of is the 5 council members that will be, or the 3 council members, the vice mayor and the mayor that will be doing the evaluation. We're all human too, and so it's really hard to remember what happened 8 months ago when we're filling out the
Exactly.
review process. And so it also works as a refresher for those who are doing the evaluation, I think, as well. Which I think is helpful, but do I have consensus that we should include a self-evaluation piece?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and then the last part is, and this will be somewhat similar to the 360 portion where the department heads are asking questions. We will put together a questionnaire, and it will be broken down into 2 parts, basically like core competencies and then points under the strategic plan as far as what was accomplished. About 2/3 of it will be rated 1 through 5, And then about a third of it will be kind of open-ended, writing down points and that sort of thing.
Okay. I thought you were going to say as part of the 360 that the town manager will rate us, which I'm fine with.
Yeah. So that will be the next part, and I just want to make sure that you all are on board with doing like the 2/3 rating 1 through 5, and then about 1/3 of it being open-ended. So as long as I have consensus, then Hannah and I will work on this, and then hopefully I can get it to you before next work session so you guys can make notes and I can take those notes and perfect it. And then after that, the next step will be for it to go through MTask HR department to make sure that there aren't any red flags and everything's legal. And then I'll probably ask Harry to also take a look at it before we actually adopt it as policy.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for working on that. Yeah, I mean, I think it would be good, I've asked Elaine, but I think it would be good for her after the election to sit down with us, each of us, and talk about some, communication things, back and forth. So it'll be helpful for all of us. I think things are going pretty well, but so hopefully that will happen at some point after the election.
Always about process improvement.
Yeah.
And increased communication. Communication is the biggest detriment to any organization.
Agreed.
Communication.
All right, thank you. So next item on the agenda is the sidewalk project, and we have a memorandum from Loretta that kind of spells out where we are.
And then I did get a copy of a timeline for the project schedule. And I'll give this to you, Suzanne, if you want to take a copy and pass it down. It kind of gives a breakdown of the different steps of the project and the expected completion date of the sidewalk project.
I thought it was going to be 2023. It's 2024. Didn't they say 23 last time we met?
What, does it say 24?
September 24.
Yeah, no, it did say 2023 last time.
Yes, and that is when Loretta reached out to TDOT and ASA Engineering to kind of get this timeline. She stated that March 31st, 2023 was their current completion date, and based on some of the issues that are in the memo that Loretta typed up for us, they sent back from the engineer this estimated updated timeline for completion. And I think the biggest issue that they're having is that there's over 100 properties that need to go through right-of-way acquisition. And that seems to be the lengthiest process.
So they're done with comments now? It looks like they were still addressing comments from their last application. But maybe that will be done by 12/22, so we still have 2 months.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for that.
As this gets pushed back again, through no fault of our own, is sense to assess doing this without, is that even possible anymore, without using the grant money?
That I don't know. I have to look into that.
What would the cost difference be? Maybe it's not even close, but they're also requiring us to do a lot more things than would otherwise be required. And I would love for this project to be finished for my grandkids someday.
Good luck. I mean, I guess we can. I guess we can ask Loretta, what it might be like if we did it without.
And maybe it's not worth spending any. If she says, I trust her. If she's like, it's not even close. We really should be doing it this way. Okay, but yet again, we're kicking the can down the road. It's been kicked down the road 13 years on this.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and I guess that would be my next question is initially, like this was a 20% match, which we're still at, but clearly 13 years ago, there's a different set of pricing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if the money from the initial 20% has been assigned, or does it just live in our general fund, or is it an assigned amount?
Okay.
And then two, has that been adjusted to take into account that that was a 13-year-old quote?
Yeah, are we capped out on how much they'll give to the point where really there's not that much?
Didn't they increase the grant amount recently? They did. Yeah, I think they did. I don't know how much, but they did increase it.
There was an increase, but again, I don't. That was before like the super recent super inflation.
Mm-hmm.
So are we?
By the time they finish,
Yeah.
concrete's gonna be $2.
And every delay of it, like a year at this rate's costing hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the additional requirements. I'm just wondering if at this point we're at another decision point where maybe it's more prudent to look at digging up some concrete and filling it ourselves.
Well, it can't hurt
piece
to
by
ask,
piece.
Loretta, what her thought is on that.
Unless if you ask that it's going to stall things out, then don't ask.
Yeah, if she says that's a 5-year project. Yeah, okay. Well, thank you for the update. That's the last thing for our discussion items. So we're on to the manager's report.
Okay, so our property tax portal is live on our website now, so you have access to looking at property tax and paying it online. Yay! Super excited. I already mentioned that the external scan has been completed, internal it had begun today. The engineer came out last Tuesday to do the assessment of the town hall building inside and outside the structure. He did note that there has been significant sinking of one side of the building more than the other. But he does want to put in some soil monitoring equipment to see if it's finished settling or finished moving, he said. So just waiting to get the timeline on that. However, up in the attic, there are some places we're going to need to look at a new roof because it's been leaking, and some other structural things up there. So about 2 to 3 weeks for the report to come back from his inspection. So he didn't feel that even talking about jacking up the building right now would be beneficial until he finds out if it's done moving, the soil is done moving.
So is that going to, like if he monitors it for the next 3 weeks and we've been without rain, is that going to affect what he's monitoring? Because it seems to me that rain is what's affecting that.
Yes, and likely, so that as far as the timeline goes in this drought, that'll be a discussion. We're seeing a lot of movement when it's wet. So
yeah,
keeping those there, we just need to have a good rain.
All right.
And then that whole drainage area back there is going to be a big project to build a proper retaining wall and drainage area with bigger drain holes to move the amount of water that goes through there.
And that's something different than having the building inspected.
Yes, but it was all.
It's all together.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Because that is one of the contributing factors for
absolutely
for the building issues that we're having. Is all that water has no place else to go, and it will force itself to go someplace, and it's been forcing itself to go into town hall. And so, just an update on that. He finally came out and did that for us, and So I completed my CMFO course last week, and Katie and Jennifer have it coming up Thursday. They'll be going to Knoxville. But then tomorrow and Wednesday, we're doing some CMFO training with the comptroller, and that'll be virtual. So we'll just be back here in the conference room and doing some virtual training with the comptroller, which is free, which is always nice. Anytime we can sign up for free training. We found some training through PE Partners. They offer a wide variety of different training available. So encourage staff this morning, to log in, and it's all online training, but it's all geared towards reducing risk. Lots of good training for PE Partners. So trying to increase our knowledge base. And I think that's all I have for now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, do we have any other business communications and reports from the mayor and council or committees and boards?
I just have one quick thing that I kind of wanted to bring to council and gain consensus before I move on to next steps. And it has to do with the pay scale. We had initially set out and asked for MTAS to do a pay scale study, and they had sent something back that was less robust than what we had hoped for. And so after speaking with Elaine, I've been working on going to like-sized towns and getting their pay structure, as well as local municipalities. And as far as like-size goes, I've gone to like the closest, or the 5 right above us in population, and then 5 right below us in population. And I've also tried to look through the state to see if there's anything similar, like geographically or that sort of thing. So I've got 17 comparison points right now to really get a good idea. I think next steps on this, and I've already spoken with Elaine, is I would like to meet with Elaine and department heads, and if a department head wants to bring a couple of staff members, so that we can really talk what their expectations are. I mean, I'm great at putting together a spreadsheet and gathering data, but we have a very professional staff, and they may see an opportunity that I'm not seeing in this data collection, and I would really like to have their voices as a part of this first couple steps. And then once I get that done, I'll be passing all of the data on to council so that we can really look at the most proactive way of creating a competitive pay scale for the last time and maintain it. So I just wanted to kind of bring it to you, let you guys know where I'm at, what I think the next steps would be. I wouldn't feel good about going and meeting with people on my own without consensus from council. So.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate your efforts in that regard, what you've done so far. MTAS, we had high hopes for what they were going to give us, and they didn't give us much at all. You have my blessing to have a meeting with department heads. I think it would be helpful to talk to them and see, if you're on the right track, and if not, they can tell you, this is what we think you should look at or do. So that would be helpful.
Yeah. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Any other business from anyone else? Okay. I mentioned that we had a tree board meeting. They mainly talked about the Arbor Day coming up on Friday, and then mentioned we had some discussion about the native plant issue. And they're also looking at trying to see if we can do a mountaintop type of outdoor festival of some sort next September, which would be awesome. And I think Barbara Womack is taking the lead on that and getting started with it. So.
And I had coffee with her this morning, and I'm so excited about this fall festival idea.
Yeah.
Really, again, highlighting native plants and some public education to go along with it. It's really, I'm very excited that the tree board is on that track.
Yeah, she's pretty excited. Oh, we do have an opening for the tree board too. We got a resignation from one person, so I pass that on to Elaine. So we'll put the word out for anyone interested in joining the tree board.
And one thing on the tree board line, we did receive and plant two honor trees that needed to be replaced. And so we did that with the assistance of Ann and Barbara. So thank you for acquiring the trees for us and helping us get them into the ground. And then we're also assisting for Arbor Day and planting some trees. And then we planted some trees over at the MAC as well. So really thank you for getting.
I'd like to thank Jared and his team for helping us with that. That made it go a whole lot better than just a shovel.
Yes, thank you so much for going to acquire the trees and then helping us get them in the ground. It was really appreciated. Thank you.
One other thing I'll mention is that the Signal Mountain High School mountain biking team won the state tournament. I didn't know there was such a thing, but apparently there is, and I think this is their first year of doing it. So pretty excited for them, and maybe we can invite them to a town council meeting to give them some honor for that accomplishment.
That would be awesome.
So, all right, anything else? We are adjourned. Well, next meeting is November 4th, and we're now adjourned. 14th, sorry, November 14th.
Hey, Charlie, something I just learned in my MCAS training. When you adjourn, and this is, I'm not being critical on you, but when you adjourn, you have to ask for a motion in a second. We have never adjourned a meeting. Our meetings are just never ending. Please, because I'd like them to end.